this connection may not readily come to your mind if you do not take those so-called electives. You understand? Then, some of the electives, the interpretation is that, well, they have something to offer. Though even without them, you can still go on. Let's take some maths electives, or physics electives, or chemistry electives, which when you were undergraduate here, they say they should be elective. Okay. They say it's elective. Math 1, is it 101? That is general math. There's one that focuses on algebra.
It's 101.
Good. So you will be asking, this math focuses on algebra. Is it very relevant to somebody who is doing carpentry and joinery? You understand?
Yeah.
Because people doing carpentry and joinery will be more concerned with trigonometry, geometry. You understand? Why people who are doing electronics, mechanical and all that, algebra is very important, calculus, all those kind of things. So in order not to compare people who don't need this math to also take it, you make it elective. So that if it is not very relevant to your area of specialization, you can skip it. Okay?
Yes.
So when you ask that kind of question, how do we evaluate it? It becomes difficult to answer because it depends on the purpose of the elective. You understand? It depends on the purpose of the elective. In fact, some electives are actually not electives. They are co-electives.
They are compulsory electives.
Compulsory electives. Okay, now, like this is your master's degree program. You'll find out that some courses have been labeled elective. Instead, they are not electives. They are specialization options. Specialization options. That is, if you want to go into this area, you take this one. If you want to go to this, so I think it's a misnaming. Okay? And then you should have said so at the beginning. Let's try and move on to something.
I want to ask one question about this curriculum that, for instance, go to prison, they will just prepare curriculum for prisoners and train them. And I don't know who evaluates such program.
I want to say that they don't just prepare the curriculum for prisoners and because it's not true. In fact, the curriculum for training prisoners is so rigorous because it has come out of years of data collection. Psychologists are involved, sociologists are involved, teachers are involved, subject area specialists are involved, criminologists and all that. Because first and foremost, we have to know why the person entered crime in the first place. Some will tell you, they say it's because my mama don't pay my fees, that is why I don't get this thing, I go catch one chicken. Okay? Some will say, see, I am stealing because my stepmother put poison for stealing inside water and gave me to drink so that I will be stealing and then I will be a useless boy. You understand? Now, when you want to change, but the idea of prison is to change somebody, to reform. So when you want to reform, you need to look at what can we teach this person that when he comes out of prison, he will no longer be, or he will no longer be interested in the crime. First, he needs some skills to sustain his life. So what kind of skills would they be good at? Or are we capable of training? Okay? Carpentry, joinery, electrical installation. And to be able to come up with the curriculum for carpentry, they will not sit there in prison and prepare the curriculum for carpentry. They will come to the teachers. Okay? Teachers, prepare a curriculum for carpentry for us. Where are you using it? We're using it in prison to train prisoners. You understand? So it's not just a matter of sit down and prepare.
have the Department of Education.
Yes. Of all those things. Let's start.
Okay, the next question is on page 7, which is student confidence law as an instrument of evaluation.
How is it prepared? That's the question. The question was how is it
Yes,
prepared?
how is it prepared?
How is it prepared? Student confidence. I stand on the existing protocol. As the name implies, we have a student confidence law. And we say that it's a form. It's prepared in form of a questionnaire. But the issue here is, this instrument will not be exposed to others. You keep it with you. For instance, maybe you want to work on the psychological aspect of the child. You know, some student performs the way they are performing in the class, either dull in particular, is because of maybe the psychological trauma they may have at home. So if you are preparing an instrument like this to evaluate such a child, the psychological aspect of the child, make sure that that is kept with you, and you prepare it in form just as the way you prepare questionnaires. Prepare the information by the time you ask, you keep it confidential. So it's prepared as a questionnaire. I believe all of us are familiar with what questionnaire is and how to do it.
Any other contribution? Is that the last question?
No. Instrument for measuring student knowledge. Which among the instruments listed here are used for measuring student knowledge? You can use the questionnaire and then the observation law to measure knowledge.
Is that all?
Yes.
What of examination?
Test.
Yes.
Test and exams.
Questions. That is
Measuring knowledge.
progressive evaluation in the class.
Let me correct an impression. It looks like when people are looking at this, you look at it very narrow. When you talk of measuring knowledge, look back at Bloom's taxonomy of educational objectives. On what scale, where does knowledge fall? Knowledge is the most elementary of the cognitive sciences. Knowledge simply has to do with the core of facts. Okay? So if the question is, what instrument will you use to measure knowledge? Yes, that knowledge. Definitely it has to be tests. What type of test? What is the objective? What is it type? Matching practical. You cannot use practicals as a measure of knowledge.
Objective matching.
Yes, about application analysis, synthesis. Okay? Yes. So if we are narrowing down, it's just the same thing I was saying, that we are always putting new wine in old wine skin. Our thinking is still the way our teachers taught. But we read books telling us about different things, and so we use those terminologies. So when we are talking about measuring knowledge, education is not just about knowledge. Okay? Particularly in vocational and technical education, is not just about skills, about knowledge, skills and habits. Knowledge, skills and habits. These three things must be present in the education of someone who is going to enter. He must have the knowledge of facts, principles, concepts, processes, theories. He must have the skills of doing and the habits, right habits. You may be very knowledgeable, very skillful. If you don't have the right habit, will not work. I give you an example. How many of you went to technical school and did radio and television request? Very good. How many of you actually practice radio and television request? Those of you who already did technical school.
After school.
No, just whether after school or during school, how many of you actually practice?
I practiced for a while, but at a point I could not succeed. That's what.
It may not be because you were not knowledgeable or not skilled. You didn't have a habit. Troubleshooting requires a lot of patience. In fact, it's something that requires so much patience. And particularly troubleshooting electrical and electronic things requires staying in one place for a long time. How many of us have that habit? Someone brings a radio, you open it, and then you say, okay, wait, I will come. There you go. By the time you come back, you have even forgotten where you started. Okay?
Yes.
Then you package it like that and keep aside and open another one. Okay? In a short while, you see your whole workshop is clustered with open and up close.
Radios.
Then you woke up one day and say, oh, this shop safe.
Not a problem with customers.
So by 6 a.m., people are already around your workshop. Wait, let him just come. He doesn't give him my radio today. Now me and him was
Like
tell us. Some people are very skillful, but they don't have the knowledge. Take motor mechanics, traditional motor mechanics who learn through apprenticeship. They know that turn this knot, turn that knot, turn this knot, turn that knot. But what are the principles underlying this turn, this knot? They don't know. So the next thing is that you bring something, look around, they cannot find their spanner, then they take a hammer. They force it to get transmitted to somewhere else, and then there's failure. Tie it back normally, drive off. Before you reach the gate, boom, something happens. When I took my car to the gate, it was working very well. What happened?
tell you that
God, this is your team, but don't break.
the thing was working now.
So, knowledge, skill, and habit, or what you may call cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. And so, the instruments for measuring are all different. It depends on what you are measuring. As a matter of fact, I heard somebody say you can measure knowledge with a questionnaire. I'm not sure you can measure knowledge with a questionnaire. I'm just not sure you can measure knowledge with a questionnaire. Because questionnaires only collect opinion. At most, you can only use questionnaire to measure an attitude towards something, which is a habit. If you have to measure knowledge, it has to be a test. One type of test or the other. Okay? Are we through with those questions? Yes, that's one. And what is that?
Stages of curriculum evaluation.
Yes. Very good. Stages. What are the stages?
Actually, maybe the person who asked the question will elaborate more on that question. If not, I'm wondering exactly what dimension you want us to answer that question. Because not maybe you let us know exactly the dimensions to which you want us to.
Stages of curriculum evaluation. What are the stages?
Maybe we react to the question as well. Say more on it because for me, I don't.
Yes, Labe wants to say something.
I think initially I wanted to ask closely to that, but when we asked the question, so I didn't bother to ask you that again. What I had to find out, what are the steps involved in preparing this evaluation?
It's about the same thing.
So now that you say
You are not aware that there is something like steps or
there are
stages in
steps, we
curriculum
just
evaluation.
sit down and
You are not aware.
what we do.
Then you better have to take about seriously. That's the process. Evaluation is a process. And so definitely it has to have stages and steps. So if you didn't cover that in your paper, you have to really go back and listen. And there are a few things I think you should have expanded on to in your presentation. When you were talking about things like evaluation of school, evaluation of teacher, you know that section, you remember that section? The early part of it. Read them out, please.
Functions of evaluation.
Is it function?
Yes. In respect of teacher, learner, student.
Some of them you just mentioned them and didn't really explain them. It would have been very nice if you explained them. Why do we evaluate school? Why? Why do we evaluate programs? Why do we evaluate the teachers? Why do we evaluate the students? Level of student, we can talk of placement, remediation, certification, classification, selection. They are on the part of school. Why? Why do we evaluate schools?
Quality assurance, maintain standards.
Quality assurance, maintenance of standards. Give feedback to stakeholders, not just giving feedback to stakeholders. And stakeholders include parents, ministries, public, okay, employers of labor. So I think is your paper should have been.
Elaborate.
I think you were afraid of typing costs.
The number of pages.
We're not even limited.
I could have written a book on you.
We're writing it as a conceptual paper, and then we have
But at least there are some areas that you tweet a lot on them. You should have also expanded a little bit, maybe a paragraph or two explaining some of these things, even just to itemize. For instance, the one where you are just mentioning why we evaluate schools for accountability, quality assurance, and all that. You can just mention them.
I mentioned
No, I didn't see it. No, it's not a matter of let's take the correction. It's not there now. I'm looking at the paper here. Any other observation? Okay, fuck that.